at some point, Teddy Powell was like, "You're going to let me finish. I let you finish through that. You're not going to attack me. I'm going to finish." Yeah, very hot session here in Madison.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
The next issue from the Madison City Council meeting is this community center. Talk to us. What's going on there?
Yeah, so in my research, it looks like they've had this senior center up on Hughes for several years, which is falling into disrepair and otherwise performs a pretty vital service for the community. So for the last 2 years, they've been planning to replace it with a community center. This will be built on the bones of another existing building to save costs, but the costs are still fairly high. It's an $11 million proposal, and it looks really good from the plans. They have a slideshow and everything with computer-generated graphics. It's going to contain all sorts of meeting rooms that are open to the public for different groups to use. It's going to contain things like space for community gardens and gardening workshops. They even included workshops for pottery and woodworking in there, which smells like a pet project to me, but I mean, I might try it if it's there, if it's open to the public. Right. And it's built on a 30-acre plot, so it's going to be pretty large and significant. I am cautiously optimistic about this. I think Madison, as a car-dependent suburb, is pretty lacking in third places that you can go without having to spend money. I've certainly been feeling the burn on that myself. So having anywhere to go that is not just an underfunded park and maybe has indoor places to collaborate with others would be a boon to this city, I think. But it was met with some consternation by council members who felt left out of the planning process. And I sent you another rather long clip. They balked at the price tag, and nobody was really sure about what had been available to them before, or whether it was getting dumped on them to vote in that session. So things got a little heated, and I was lucky to be online to catch all of that.
Yeah, and let's play that. It is longer. It's like 6 minutes, so we'll only play the first bit of it, because right at the beginning you can tell like there's a pretty underhanded, underhanded compliment in it just right at the top, and so we'll play that and we'll come back. It's the clip where the councilor and the mayor are talking.
This is no secret to anybody. I'll say, based on listening to what you're saying, and I'll start with this: it'll be great to have you re-engaged.
Yeah, and so there you go. There's that was that was it. That was what I wanted to play. That was the mayor, right, Tryston, telling a council member like, "Oh yeah, it'd be great to have you re-engaged." Like, like really super nice smile on his face, all this, and like what he's telling him is like, I don't know where you've been.
Yeah, that was Mayor Paul Finley talking to Councilman. I think I said his name, Tommy something. Powell, I think. Councilman Powell. Sorry, didn't have that ready to go. Still learning all their names. Yeah, Teddy Powell, that's it. Powell's argument was that he had tried to be engaged, but every time he went over to the mayor's office, the mayor's people were kicking them out, saying they were in the way and asking useless questions or that sort of thing. He said that the mayor said they had been open with this information for years, and repeated that it'd be nice to have you engaged line again. And at some point, Teddy Powell was like, "You're going to let me finish. I let you finish through that. You're not going to attack me. I'm going to finish." So yeah, very hot session here in Madison.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying before our commercial break, that it is not unusual if you actually watch some of these city council meetings and school board meetings to observe all sorts of petty antics, feuding, some interesting exchanges you'll get from these elected officials.
So Well, in your notes, you just mentioned that there were a lot of comments from the public that were not in favor of the community center. Did it seem like that was the consensus in the room? Which is obviously the consensus in the room. It probably people understand, but it needs to be said that the consensus of the room is not necessarily the consensus of the population. Right? It's a very select group, but the people in the room seem to be opposed to it.
If I remember right, there was a split, but I think it tends to be the people who are panicking about an imminent change that come to city council meetings to have their voice heard because they otherwise feel left out, which is completely understandable. So I do remember, I think Miss Margie was there again, or it may have been somebody else, complaining about the city's priorities, essentially wanting them to refurbish the existing senior center or focus on sidewalks or lighting somewhere. And I don't fully understand the state of all of those things. Again, I just live on the edge of Madison and drive through select parts of it on the daily. But even the council members themselves were concerned about dropping $11 million on a community center, writing the check today for a multi-year project, and wondering what they might be ignoring as an opportunity cost. Most of their finances seem to come from like bond issuances and stuff is what they talk. That's the majority of what they talk about in the meetings. So,
what's the timeline for this? When are they expected to actually vote yay or nay on it?
They actually already have. They did approve it in a working session that happened between city council meetings. So I was not listening in on that stream, but I caught the notes later. They did manage to get the financial review they wanted and vote yay on it. I don't know how unanimous it was, but it was enough to get it through. So I think the timeline is something like 3 years.
Okay. Wow.
Which is not too long for something of that size.
For sure. All right. Well, hopefully it lives up to the brochures and everything.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project, and you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.